It's 2 weeks until Memorial Day kicks off summer travel season. The Transportation Department is laying out an aggressive plan to address the air traffic control issues at Newark Airport after yet another brief telecom outage. Tom Costello reports.
Now up and running two high-speed redundant telecom lines, sending radar and radio data from New York to controllers in Philadelphia who handle Newark airspace. When the main line still glitched early Sunday morning, the new backup lines held.
The equipment that we use is so old, the information has to be slowed down. It comes in too fast.
Sunday's glitch lasted only 30 seconds, but DOT Secretary Duffy says controllers feared the system was crashing and ordered a 45-minute ground stop with delays and cancellations quickly climbing.
And Newark, just so you know, we're all rooting for you for better equipment and more staff.
Blaming the Biden administration for failing to upgrade the system, Duffy says a Tiger team is now fast-tracking new fiber optic lines to controllers at Newark, JFK, and LaGuardia, but it will take weeks to test.
Families shouldn't have to wait 4 or 5 hours for a flight that never takes off.
Amid the equipment failures, too few controllers, and a runway under construction, United has cut nearly 36 flights at Newark and is urging other airlines to also make cuts. Meanwhile, the Trump administration urging Congress to spend tens of billions of dollars up front to replace the entire ATC system nationwide.
My concern is that we could see other situations like this around the country because the system is old. It's old.
On Wednesday, the airlines are meeting about reducing the number of flights at Newark with the airport already maxed out. Lester?
Tom Costello tonight. Thanks. We're back in a moment with a breaking story about a prominent rapper stabbed behind bars. And when you can see Michael Jordan back in basketball.
I want to comment of the fact that 2007, up in western Kentucky, if anybody knows anything about my life, I had put out advisories or warnings that God had shown me that there was going to be massive, major electrical disturbances pertaining to the weather fouling up, and also pertaining to solar flares, and also pertaining to old equipment. Now, for some reason, I wound up getting on TVA's hot list up around Grand Rivers and Benton and the northern part of the Tennessee River, regarding a bunch of people that obviously was trying to promote the idea that I was going to create electrical disturbances by doing something to the Kentucky Dam. But the fact of the matter is, I got punished for trying to do a good thing. Not once, but in actuality twice, in them coming after me over by Aurora, Kentucky, in a completely different county that was still in that same area, touching off on the Tennessee River, of thinking that I was going to do something to the Kentucky Dam. Now that's been, 14 years ago? 2007? 14? Give or take about 16, 17 years ago. And now the reflection of my warnings and my advisories is in fact coming true on different levels and on every level pertaining to massive electrical disturbances. And this can occur not only through our grid system being old, dilapidated, and seeing the weather change from one extreme to another, but in also aviation and computer software and solar flares and etc. People have tried desperately, and I'm talking desperately, in trying to either make me out to be somebody that was a lunatic or somebody that was a homegrown terrorist here in America. Simply because either they was misunderstood about the anointing that God had placed into my life, or because they themselves was devils and they was purposely trying to get me out of open population. Either or, there's a pattern in my life again and again and again, beginning in 1989, whenever Madison County, Jackson, Tennessee, confiscated a piece of material from a ministry that they never should have confiscated being supervised by Secret Service. So whenever it comes to people trying to help, I've never seen a society so upside down to the degree that they don't want help. I think that they actually desire to crash and burn. In other words, by them crashing and burning, this would be a way for them to divert the people's attention off who really should be held accountable because of all these problems. And they rather crash and burn than they would to give an accountability to the people. Now, if that does not speak volumes about the prior politicians that we have put in power, I don't know what does. And I've said this a many times. You know, the adults pertaining to the baby boomers, they're the ones that didn't want to put any lock, stock, or barrel as far as investment into the founder of the Windmill Ministries missions, which that's basically already said and done. That's like spilt milk. You can't put that back into the jar, or toothpaste that's been removed from the toothpaste canister. You can't put it back into the toothpaste canister ordinarily. So that's already done. That's already a done deal. But as far as people today, the younger generation in their 40s, 30s, and even their 20s, or even the teens, to not see no movement regarding basically going down the same old clientele of the resistance movement that started in my life in 1980, in the late 1980s, after 9 tapes circulated to the White House in 1988, tells me that they really are doomed. Tells me that they really do want to crash and burn. Tells me that they're dead set that they're not going to support a ministry that supports not only love, grace, and mercy pertaining to the teachings of Christ, but they're dead set that they're not going to stand behind biblical Bible prophecy, instilled thinking maybe, I don't know, that they're going to be able to stop this. I got news for you, my friends. The trajectory that the earth is on right now, pertaining to seeing all these massive, massive catastrophic events, is not diminishing. If anything, it's intensifying. And we're seeing more and more of it all throughout the planet. You keep in mind, ever since they created the satellite, and ever since we've got the internet, and social media now especially, the world has become very smaller in comparison to the way it was back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and even the majority of the 80s, until they started tweaking and getting this stuff available for the general public. And I guess it was basically probably the late 80s, early 90s, was whenever all of a sudden the world itself, from a planetarian perspective, started getting smaller, because now we have access to ordinarily the same stuff that NASA and NOAA and other scientists and meteorologists have, and the world has become a smaller world. These things that we're dealing with today are only going to intensify and get worse unless people have made advance plans, and instead of going with, let's say, a 200 kilowatt transformer, going with a 400 kilowatt transformer. Instead of putting a covert in that's only a 4-foot covert, maybe you ought to put in an 8-foot covert, and you won't need that 8-foot covert during normal rains. But whenever these deluges come in and it rains continuously again and again and again, one cell right after another, compounded on a 3 or 4 day period, then you got massive flooding. Then you're going to have that 8-foot covert to take on the volume of water. Same way with the electricity. Instead of having the cable this big, let's say, an eighth of an inch thick, it needs to be twice that. It needs to be a half inch thick. I mean, there's so many things that can be affected by either old material or the wrong type of material or material that wasn't made to hold that particular type of a load pertaining to electrical disturbances. That once more, in the year 2007, up around Grand Rivers, Kentucky, Paducah, Kentucky, I was punished not once but twice in trying to give out advisories pertaining to these mass environmental changes and these forces of nature that was going to cause these type of injuries to our public services.
In the harbor, they're carrying two things: foreign-made products and large tariffs. But when you buy American-made products like WeatherTech,
so take it for what it's worth.
Clouds tomorrow out of some of these clouds or showers that do develop. It's just
take it for what it's
what
worth.
we see with this type of setup.
I'm going to say it one more time.
About Farsiga today.
Take it for what it's worth. You was warned. You was warned of these major catastrophes that was going to be inundating our planet, especially whenever it comes to global warming. That your global warming deniers are still trying to say, oh no, that's all people's imagination. And it was basically the oil industries, it was OPEC and the oil industries that started that lie, that basically got the whole world convinced of the same lie, that, oh no, environmental changes ain't real, global warming ain't real, y'all are just imagining all this stuff. We're going to continue to keep drilling more and more oil, drill baby, drill baby, drill, 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 and we're going to keep contaminating the atmosphere above our heads, and we're going to continue to keep drilling massive holes down into the ground without filling them full of water or something, as far as stealing the minerals out of the ground, and we're going to continue on the same pathway that we've been on for the past 50 years. Wow. How ignorant could you be? Especially since the year 2025, we have seen these things escalate all over the planet.
Yeah, and I think you saw Trump prosecuted and a wave of prosecutions that failed or that didn't prevent him from being president. And I think he feels he is immune from those now, and maybe not in a technical legal sense, but that's obviously how he's acting.
All right. Thank you both very much. And next, we have new details tonight about Trump's top negotiator reportedly.
That's what they all think. They all think that they're immune. Any of these rich people or these people that's in these high-ranking positions, they all think that they're immune until it comes to their front door. Until it comes to their front door.
Well, Trump today shared a personal anecdote.
A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. Seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said, I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88, and in New York I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
Exactly. You got to hear it that way. Now, under this executive order,
the rich is getting richer while the poor is getting poorer. Good luck to all of us. God bless America. God bless our endeavors. God bless where we go from this moment on pertaining to a global society. We are no longer on the same set of rules of what we was back in the 50s and the 60s and even the 70s and the early 80s. The whole planet has made adjustments regarding a globalized society now. And unless Donald Trump or whoever, whatever president, is willing to get in there and work and rub elbows with some of these other countries, we are dependent upon them as much as they are dependent upon us. It's kind of like fine-tuning a piece of machinery that if it gets out of whack in any type of way, then you see what the tariffs can cause the consequences of. You see that. So good luck to all of us. God bless America, and heaven help us all. Shalom. Do you think those multi-billionaires or even possibly a trillionaire industry pertaining to Big Pharma, do you think that they're going to pay any attention to that right there? Maybe some of them might. But as far as them shivering in their shoes, as far as them actually being frightened of what the president is talking about right here pertaining to the drug cost, they're going to let that go through one ear and possibly out the other. Because they have already done set up a standard in what they have already done, made investments on themselves, paying for hospitals, paying for research centers, etc. And to break that standard means that they would have to go back in and reconform all of their planned out ideals in building this particular facility over here, or shutting down this facility and opening up this facility. I mean, you're basically throwing a big monkey wrench into their plans. And I don't foresee Big Pharma shaking or quivering over nobody's orders. Once more, we have the rich getting richer while the poor gets poor, and it's pretty obvious whenever the same drug costs 1,000 times more over here in America than it does in other parts of the country. Good luck. Shalom. God bless.